Welcome back to another episode of Youth Voices Actions podcast, Coercing the System, Not Each Other. Today's guest is a survivor of sexual harm who wishes to stay anonymous, so we will be referring to them as Janelle. Thank you, Janelle, for having the courage to tell your story so that other young people listening can hear that they're not alone and feeling like the system doesn't accommodate them.
Thank you for having me.
Janelle, would you like to share a little bit about your story and why you decided to come forward anonymously?
To bring awareness to the struggles and the effects that sexual harm can have on young people. Also, a bit about my story. From the ages of roughly 6 to 12, I was assaulted by a family member. And then in year 9 of college, I got asked if I got assaulted, and the school counselor had to, not the school counselor, sorry, the school nurse had to do a lot from there.
The ages of 6 to 12 is quite a substantial part of your life, as well as being young. You don't really know what sex is. Can you describe kind of like your thought process at the time, if you recall? Did you know what was happening to you?
Because 6 is quite young, like you've pretty much 1 year for left primary school.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know what sex is. And so I didn't realize what was happening to me was wrong until we had a girls' self-defense class. And it was in there where I found out, oh shit, like that's happened to me. However, at that time, I did not really want to tell anybody, nor, I don't know, didn't have the balls, I guess, tell an adult to get help, I guess, but mind you, I was 6.
Yeah, it's like a big thing to kind of come to terms with, eh? Like,
Yeah.
it's not as though, yeah, I've finally identified what, not finally, but I have identified what is happening to me. I can just magically overnight go tell a trusted adult like they say to do, eh?
Yeah, like that's, I don't know, for some people it might be a realistic thing, but even now I struggle to say what happened to me, like to say I got sexually assaulted. Like I won't ever say that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everybody needs to know, not everybody needs to hear, but also like stigma around coming out of it, and then it's not shameful, but like I guess at that age you probably like I felt shame.
Yeah, at that age, yeah, you're right with the stigma and the attitudes around it, of course. And you're 6 years old trying to navigate like stuff that isn't supposed to happen full stop, period, let alone to a child. So when you did this self-defense class, it was at 6, like roughly 7 years old. Like,
Yeah, well, see, my childhood memory is kind of, but it would have been year 3 or 4, year 7-ish.
I think so. I'm not too sure actually. It's the language they kind of used around like you're going to learn this technique to defend yourself in case a male attacker. Is it more the assault type of thing, like you're walking to your car in the dark, or were they leaning more into the sexual type of stuff?
So you know how like in the school day there's 3 different blocks? So every block was based around a different theme. So like there was one where it was like, you know, kidnap awareness, like if you're walking in the streets and somebody tries to grab you, scream, kick, punch, scratch, that shit. The second block was about sexual harm, sexual violence, what it is, trusted adults, and like what you can do in those situations to try protect yourself.
Yeah.
And then the third block was more like, you know, the most like punching, drinking, step on their feet, you know, all that stuff.
So it was definitely beneficial for you at that age to participate in the women's self-defense course.
Yeah, definitely beneficial. And like, I mean, I think it was good for me because it made sense of what was happening to me. How it, well, didn't make sense, but like, it gave it a name, which made it easier for me to deal with. So, yes.
Allowing you to kind of put the blocks together, or like the puzzle together of what this is, why you feel this way, why was this happening kind of thing, eh?
Yeah.
So this kind of speaks to an interview that we did with Sam Troth. One of the reasons he believes it's important for programs such as this to be in school, regardless of if they're talking about sexual abuse or harm directly, it is important for young people because, like we've said, it helps to put the puzzle together because a person should be going around thinking that this is going to happen, and no parent certainly wants to think this is going to happen to their child, where they want to teach their children at a young age this is what sexual abuse is. Of course, parents teach their kids about like the private parts.
I don't know, I feel like if not so much for like babies in primary school, but intermediate college, I feel like though in these self-defense classes, you see they didn't, so they didn't, they had this book
Mm.
and it's about like somebody touching somebody's bum, but it's like my uncle or my dad or something, and that is how they explain sexual assault, because they also explain that your private parts are private, but it helps, yeah, it definitely helps people become aware of abuse.
You said that your school nurse kind of asked you questions, spoke to you about sexual harm. Did they get any organizations involved, such as Tautoko Mai or Oranga Tamariki?
Yeah, so both were involved. Like, they were lovely. When you're in that type of situation, you kind of want to come to lovely people. Not like fake lovely, but just people who can either sympathize with you or will just be very, I don't know. I can't explain it. Kind of,
Comfort you and support you through what they're trying to achieve, I suppose.
yeah, I don't know. I just do not like. I feel like staying stuck in problems makes it worse always.
About your experience with Oranga Tamariki?
They were all right. Like, there's two separate. I had two like different interactions with them. So the first one was at my school. In that case, they took me out of class, put me into a room. This room was where I got my counselling done. So mind you, when you're like doing counselling, you want to be in a safe space. So they kind of ruined my safe space at school. But hey, that's not their fault. It's the school's.
Yeah, I guess they could have been warned, definitely.
Yeah, like
Mm.
because I didn't like the school counsellors, so I had private counsellors and they would go into that room. But in the cases of like interviewing and doing the like interviews, it was like I would say they were pretty good. They didn't ask too many questions. I think they asked literally 2 questions in the whole interview. And then they were also very like kind, not fine, but like patient maybe is the word. They don't like, they explain everything to you. They don't make you do anything at all. Like, I guess if you're easily pressured, then you could feel as though it's being me to do it, but I felt as though it was like chill.
To say or answer the questions as they raised them, kind of thing, right? They have a way about how they ask their thing, right?
Yeah, so yeah, so basically at the start they'll ask you, what's your name? What did you do in the weekend? Isn't this is just an example. You tell them that, they check with the person behind the window to see if everything's all good with the audio and stuff. And then they start the interview. Once the interview starts, they just say, okay, now you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't even have to be what you're there for. You could literally ramble to them. Really? Yeah. You can. If you didn't want to talk about what happens when you just ramble to them or say, can we please stop? I'm over it. So they won't be like, okay, Janelle, let's get back on track. Yeah, no, they're not like that. I think so other than what's my name, I got asked, because I went through my whole interview recounting multiple times of assault. I went through like that without naming him once. And so at the end, they asked me what his name was. And another question was, I wearing underwear was relevant to the story that I was telling, but we won't get into the finer details.
No, yeah, we don't need to do that. So that was basically the process.
Well, from my knowledge, if a school member does it, or even a community member, if a community member does a report of concern, they almost always go to the school, do the interview with the kid, and then they call the parents. They wait till after this. But that's fair enough.
Yeah, because there's like proper process and stuff, right? Because they don't want collusion and all of that, or the family to interfere with the evidence and stuff, I suppose. So
Yeah.
so you mentioned that your family obviously get notified. So this is afterwards you've already had the interview and everything?
So the interview so they come into your school, they talk to you about what has happened to you, things you can do, as in pathways you can take, i.e. going to court or not going to court.
Right.
Oh, no, actually, it was doing the interview or not doing the interview. That's the options you gave. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll just do the interview. And then they were like, oh, do you want to press charges? I was like, no. If Oranga Tamariki comes in this issue at school, they have to call your parents, to notify your parents before they can leave. Otherwise, they can get done for it or something.
Right. And our discovery call, you mentioned how you were somewhat thankful to the nurse in handling sort of the communication side of everything, right? Because you said that she was able to contact your family and you didn't actually have to tell them what happened to you.
Oh yeah, so I kind of like muddled that part up. So Oranga Tamariki said what happened to my auntie. My auntie told my mum and my parents, both my parents, because at that time I could not bring myself to say the words.
Yeah. Right. So it kind of finished when you were 12 years old and fast forward to high school. It's actually the high school nurse who realizes all of this. So it could be a lot for you to come to terms with, especially being young. We've spoken about the stigma and the feelings of shame, even though it's not shameful, but at the time, being so young, you can feel that way. And so you've thought for the last roughly 3 years, you've just pushed past it, and then all of this gets brought up again, right? So it does make sense that didn't you didn't want to be the one to tell your family.
Yeah, well, because I don't want to say I had gotten over it because I didn't really think you get over that. Like, that's the type of shit you gotta ignore, otherwise it eats at you. Or not ignore, but deal with. So I went to the school nurse to get contraception. She done a report of concern. After that, my family got called because Oranga Tamariki came to school. They found out it was the school nurse that done the report of concern. They called the school nurse. She told them, and then she also said, "Well, we're not actually allowed to tell you if a student has, come forward to us." But she also said, like, the school nurse said, "I would have rather told your parents than you because judging by the way they were reacting to me, you doing it would have been 20 times worse." So I was like glad for, and then I was also glad for my extra social worker that I got. She helped me a lot within that shit. The family bullshit. Well, not family bullshit, but like adult bullshit.
Yeah. You mentioned that they gave you options of the pathways that you can take, such as pressing charges or not pressing charges. But you are still able to do the interview for like evidence sake in case you want to do it later. Once OT and Totokumai interviewed you and kind of brought up those feelings that you had suppressed for all those years, and you stated that you did not want to proceed with legal action, did they offer you any support before finishing up those services so that you didn't just crack open this box of all these feelings and trauma that's been suppressed for so long and then kind of just, we've got what we need, we'll leave you to it? Did they support you?
Because I didn't like the experience I had with the first lady at me from there. I'm just trying to think now. I don't remember any counselling services just being offered to be.
Really?
When they came into school, they offered counselling services. I didn't want to do that. And then because I had my own counsellor at the time, but it wasn't for this shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, but what else I'm like, I think I genuinely don't remember if they said like, "Hey, here's a number to call if you need somebody to talk to after the interview." They did ask, "How are you feeling?" But I'm never like, "Oh," but I admit to some like genuinely random being in, like, "Oh, I feel like I'm depressed." Like, I don't know anybody that's going to do that, or like, I feel like I'm sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very like Kiwi thing to do, is just about any question, how are you feeling? How are you doing today? Yeah, I'm good, regardless of how we actually feel. Or maybe it's not even a Kiwi thing. It's just like a social norms thing, right? Because we don't want to put our feelings onto you. We just want to wrap it up and move forward, kind of thing.
Yeah. definitely agree with that.
Yeah, even though they are there for that, you just feel like it's an imposition kind of, eh?
Yeah, like they're doing it because they have to, not because they want to.
So do you think that there should have been, regardless of what you remember about the support that offered you, do you think that there could have been more support before they had kind of put you back out into the real world, a world without interviews, thinking about this being brought up to you?
I think like Oranga Tamariki, yeah, they should definitely have, I don't know, like maybe even a follow up, like a month later. Hey, how are you doing? You done an interview a month, like something like that would have been good.
Yeah.
Or like from, because I chose not to press charges, I think the police still needed to do some sort of like investigation as to how could they stop the person who hurt me hurting other people. And it sounds like this person had to get counselling, mandated counselling or he got offered counselling or something.
Mm. Do you think there was adequate sort of check and balance put in place to stop reoffending, or?
Fuck, I think only the future will tell. Genuinely. Yeah, like, because I chose not to press charges, which is my bad. But I was.
No, it's not your bad if you didn't feel comfortable at the time.
Yeah, well, fuck. No, but mind you, I was like a 13-year-old girl just starting high school, struggling to settle in high school because I moved from one side of town to the other. All my friends either dropped out or got kicked out of school in the first fucking week. Like, genuinely.
You said that you didn't want to take up Totokomai's offer of counselling. Is there a reason for that?
Mainly because I had my own counsellor, and if I really needed to talk about that, I'll just talk about it with her because I had had her since intermediate, well established, like she's all goodies. But with Totokomai, I didn't get the same love, like, I don't know, I'm a vibes person, I go off people's vibes. So if I don't get a nice vibe off you, well then fuck, I'm not.
You're not open up to you. It's not going to be beneficial.
No, yeah, like if I think had I gone through Totokomai and it was a lady that I met up with at school, I would have absolutely been it. Like, she didn't seem like somebody who was properly equipped to support, to help, definitely, but to support me. No.
Yeah.
Well, different, I reckon.
Do you think that your experience where you felt as though the Totokomai counsellor was able to help you but not support you influenced your interest into studying psych?
My interest of psych comes from the past 2 years at school. It was interesting. I just think it's lovely. It makes sense of the world and our brains and why people do things and why they act the way they do and shit like that. I think I like psychology because it helps me make sense of the things I've been through, the things I've seen growing up, and yeah. So yeah, kind of in a sense, yes, but no.
It wasn't at the forefront of your decisions and your main driver for wanting to pursue psych. There's an element of it there. When you said you're bad for not pressing charges, do you think you would have handled things differently if you went back, or did you think that you made that decision for you at the time and it was the right decision at the time?
I was also aware of like statistics and what happens to people who are rapists or perpetrators of sexual assault. I knew that they're probably not going to go to jail. So what's the point? Like, I don't want to pull myself through all of that months in court, maybe even a year or two in court, just to be like not get the outcome I want.
Yeah.
Also, probably like I didn't have the not drive
like the mental capacity to kind of take on the load of a trial at the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I would not have handled it at that time in my life.
Yeah. In our discovery call, you did mention that the perpetrator, you found out a while later, offended against more of your family members. When we did our interview with Ellie Moore, she spoke to her database called Tiga. It's using AI to catch serial perpetrators where a survivor of sexual harm enters in the name and details about their perpetrator. And once the name is entered into the system 3 times, it pings and sends an alert for an investigation and makes you aware of the pathways that you can take, whether that's taking legal action or sort of support and all of that stuff. Would that be something that you would participate in, a database like that?
I just turned 18 actually, so I would only be eligible to do it now. But if there was a thing, well, it is a thing.
Since it's so new, they're starting with 18 and who knows where the future will take them.
I feel like, yeah, it would be more beneficial if that's 16 plus.
Yeah, it's good to know that we are starting to become, I guess, more innovative in how we approach sexual offences. And on this podcast, we are trying to identify how the system has gaps and how difficult it can be for adults, not to mention young people. Is there anything you can identify that might have incentivized you to take legal action at the time?
If I knew bro was gonna get like charged, that would have been like, I would have done it. Otherwise, really, I don't think you should be essentially incentivizing somebody to go through.
Yep, incentivize could be the wrong word, but if you knew that you were more likely to succeed, I suppose that's not necessarily an incentive, but it is a reason to take legal action.
Yeah, like if I knew that there was a higher chance that I would put my energy and effort into something and it would succeed, then I'll do it. But because there's no possibility, then
It felt unlikely to you at the time that you would succeed.
yeah, very unlikely.
Yeah, and so I guess, yeah, there's software, not to repeat myself, but software such as Tika where there's a minimum of 3 people that come forward, obviously strengthens the case. But I think from speaking to you, another gap is that I suppose the traditional or general advice given is kind of speak up and then we can help you. We can take it to court. We can help you find the right pathway, the right thing to do for you. And generally, I think adults speaking to young people, they do push for legal action. But I feel like it's important for adults or caregivers or support to understand that as young people, we are going through a lot. You know, you said the transition from high school, intermediate to high school, that's a big shift in itself, let alone going through puberty, stuff that could be going on at home, as well as the harm that you dealt with when you were so young. There's just so much going on in our minds sometimes that we don't want to come forward with these things.
Just the saying, like, speak up, go tell a trusted adult. Well, it is good that kids are being told to do that. That's not really a reality. Some people might be like me and be like, they just couldn't get the words out of their mouth. Like, genuinely, you feel like you're trying to say something yet nothing comes out. Like, that is a struggle for a lot of people. Otherwise, there's like just the feeling of being judged.
Yeah. One of the gaps could be that, you know, to myself, one of the gaps I've identified is the wait times and, of course, how likely your case is to be successful in terms of sentencing, like the perpetrator going to jail or getting the sentence that you feel is adequate, not a 2.5-year sentence, but they're out in 1.5 years. That's a gap that I've identified, but one of the gaps that isn't so obvious is, of course, the young person not having, like we've spoken to before, the mental capacity at the time to want to sit through trial, regardless of if we did fix the system in the ways that I've just identified. As important as they are, even in an ideal system, someone at that age still might not want to engage with it.
As teenagers, you have a lot going on with like hormone imbalance. Yeah, but like another gap I want to say is like Oranga Tamariki coming to schools. Genuinely, that shouldn't be a thing.
You reckon?
Well, it depends on the kid. I know some kids who safe spaces school And then when that shit was happening, it made school a very unenjoyable place. Like, my counselor's room, it made my counselor's room uncomfortable. It made the sick bay uncomfortable. Like, did it make school feel like a nice place?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of professionals in this area, they do understand that school generally is the safe space for young people because, of course, it gets them out of the house, it gets them out away from the environment that harm could be happening in. So that's very interesting that you say that you kind of wish that the interview wasn't conducted at school. Did you have any somewhat solutions to that?
I'm in the visits where school interview was in the Oranga Tamariki. Well, I mean, there's at libraries, there's conference rooms. If Oranga Tamariki can come into your school without a parent's permission and, talk to a child, why can't they take them down the road to the library?
Yeah.
Speak in one of those conference rooms. Not at school, obviously there'll probably be some logistics. The first example I could come up with.
Yeah, that would have been beneficial for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on from the system, it's very important for families that have found out a young person is a survivor of abuse. Of course, support looks different for each young person, but did you feel supported by your family when they found out?
Oh, nice. Okay, so this is kind of a rigmarole, but I have one parent who's always said growing up that if you ever get raped or sexually assaulted, I'll put a bullet in the cunt's head or something along their lines. A lot of parents say that. Well, I've heard a lot of parents say that.
Yeah.
But anyways, this made it impossible for me to tell my dad because I didn't want somebody's blood on my hands, even though their blood would be on their own hands. But
Yeah.
Also, with that, my dad still does not know to this day who done that to me, but that's irrelevant. I don't even know why I'm saying this. But anyways, so the question was, did I feel supported by my family? Yeah. So, yes and no. So the person who assaulted me for half of my fucking life, they straight up admitted it to their mother. Or they got asked and they said yes. They didn't even try to deny it, which I thought was yay, don't make me look like a fucking liar because I'm not.
Yeah.
You've done that shit. But okay, so I kind of got the blame for somebody going into depression because I came out about my story. Somebody told me I shouldn't dress like a slut. The first time I had seen them after, and I said, I didn't even say anything to them. But this is my family word. This is thing.
And it's hard to kind of talk back, or it's not talking back, but it's standing up for yourself, but it can be seen as talking back. It's hard to do that, right?
And then I had two lovely people message me and with genuinely lovely messages. I'm always here for you, love you. But mind you, I have a big family and two people out of, I'm not even going to count because there's so many. Basically, because all of this stuff was happening in the last week of the school term, I go to my side of the family for the holidays to get a break.
So moving away definitely helped you feel supported, but the initial response and reaction, you didn't feel supported?
What I forgot to mention is because the perpetrator was a family member, the social workers recommended to have a family meeting. So everybody found out what happened to me in this family meeting. I got no say in that. So they put my shit out everywhere. Instead of just saying hey, one of our girls have gone through this. Janelle has gone through him. Therefore, has any of you want to check your kids to see if they've gone through this? So I had found out when I was about 7 or 8 that one of my family members had been assaulted by the same people as me. But because I was so young, and mind you, this person was, how old is she's? They're 2 years younger than me, I believe. I didn't, at that time, I barely knew what was happening to me. I think 2 more victims got found out. They didn't do interviews, but there's still more victims that didn't come out in that meeting that had come out after. So there's I think 4 or 5 other people who have been touched by this person.
Wow.
Say touch. 4 or 5 people that I know of that have been sexually assaulted by the same person. I'm one of the younger ones. So I mean that they haven't do. There's another one.
Yeah.
I know of.
You mentioned to me that this is why your experience is why you're very big on, adults watching their children and making sure you know what's going on as a parent or supervisor, caregiver, etc. Did you have any advice or kind of telltale signs that you would tell another person, caregiver, as this has happened to you?
I'm just going to be general, real general, wasn't it? For children that have been assaulted, sexually assaulted especially, they are more prone to getting UTIs and thrush in their vagina. They're more prone to that. They're more likely to like their clothes. They're more likely to be hypersexual. So this could be things like them putting their hands down their pants and playing with their clit, but they're like 4, 3, they're babies. They shouldn't be doing that, but they are. Like, that's the sexuality, but that's can be a telltale sign. Like, yeah. Another, just trying to think, baggy clothes. Oh, wetting the bed as the perpetrator is somebody who is knowing to them, like they come to the house and it happens in your house, then they may wet their bed. I feel like the hypersexuality can be the easiest to catch. Yeah, it was like, you walk into a kid's room and they're like, yeah. Anyways, long spa. I feel to say, with watching your kids, like child sexual assault, watching your kids when they're playing can prevent, like when they're playing with their cousins, when they're playing with family friends, getting to like house, like mummy and daddies, whatever you call it. So really, they can lead to child on child essay or even essay, but child on child essay usually. Yeah, and so those are kind of games you need to be
mindful of. It's kind of just giving us, not to be pessimistic, right? But it's highlighting signs that you might want to look out for, or if it looks/feels wrong, something feels a bit, oh, what are they doing at like playing house? Just go check it out. It doesn't hurt to check it out, right?
Watching children play at family gatherings and family events can prevent a lot of shit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think unless there's anything else you'd like to say, I think that we're ready to wrap up.
Yep, yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to share your story and explaining your experience with the system. I think it's very beneficial for other young people who may be going through the system right now or have had similar feelings to you. And I think this ties into a lot of the things that we have learned on this podcast so far. So thank you very much for coming forward anonymously.